Good night, everyone. Good night, good night, good night, good evening. How are you? Welcome, come in. We have a great session coming up this evening. So I'd like to say good evening and welcome you to Pride TT's first week of events for 2021. Your participation encourages us to keep up with our work, which is focused on highlighting the positive contributions of LGBTQ persons in TNT's national development. So thank you for your participation. It is always appreciated from us. Each year, Pride TT's management committee spotlights critical segments of or issues facing our LGBTQ family, and that is what we're going to continue to do this year. This year's theme is Power Her, hashtag Power Her, which focuses on the struggle and yet power of a woman and their history, not history, which has helped build our movement. We have developed and curated over 30 events. That's a lot, but timely, aligned with this year's theme, with several community and ally partners, and we thank them graciously. Thank you for your friendship, allies, and partners. And our details on this year's activities can be found on our website, pridetc.com. Please visit, and all our social media platforms, as well as our Pride TT mobile app, which you can find on Google Play and I believe iOS, designed by Keita at Twixalot. So tonight we're gonna have a super special event. This event started in 2018 when we did a really great coming together after April 12th on poetry and readings and art. So it's entitled Outspoken, and is being co-hosted with She Write Collective. So tonight we will have the beautiful and lovely Amanda McIntyre moderating this event. And here she is. Hi, Amanda. Good night.
Hi, Josh. Thank you for such a beautiful introduction.
Of course, all the truth, all worth it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Outspoken. Outspoken is a queer-focused literary platform hosted by Pride TT as part of an extensive annual programming that aims to support the queer community commemorations of Pride within a larger framework of LGBTQI advocacy in Trinidad and Tobago. Here, the queer community boasts of a treasury of talent, including prolific and acclaimed writers. Tonight, I am pleased to share a few of them with you. Among the contributors to Outspoken 2021 are Danica Thomas. Danica is an internationally recognized poet, arts educator, and activist. Danica is a national poetry slam winner, woman delivery, young leader alum, and creator of Onward Creative and Bacana Leaf, which are a short film company and a spoken word poetry hub and platform for young people. We also have with us the illustrious Lisa Allen Agostini. Lisa is an author and editor from Trinidad and Tobago. She is the author of Home, Swallowing the Sky, The Dollars Project, and the most recently published The Bread the Devil Need. Also joining us tonight, my friend Motilal Budu Singh, who at 70 years old is a retired offshore production worker. He completed UWI's Cropper Foundation Creative Writing Workshop in 2016 and has published two collections of short stories. We also have tonight Malik Lewis, whom I recently met. Malik, better known as Mal, is a 19-year-old non-binary gay writer who is currently trying to expand their writing style. When curating platforms such as these, I always ask myself the question, who is this work for? What is this work for? And so always, whenever I get people who are so well established, it's always important for me to look about and find a young person as well who will establish that exact space that they now occupy later on tomorrow. So always we are looking towards the future. Without further ado, I want to now welcome Danica Thomas.
Hello, good night, everyone.
Hi, Danica. How are
Hello,
you?
I'm good. Um, I wanted to start with a poem that, um, yeah. So this within the last year, I've been using poetry to help work through things, and it's not something that I've really done like as openly and as just like frank as I've been doing it. Not too concerned with craft because I've been policing myself for quite a number of years, policing the work that I create, being a perfectionist. And some really interesting poems have come out of me just doing that. So the name of this poem is called Pass This Message to My Mother. Um, and just a quick background information about the poem, since we all gay as hell in here, and I'm sure that um, we can relate in some way or the other with the story. um, yeah, I always felt as though I wasn't queer enough, and so the universe was like, all right, you ask for it. And for years, I thought my mom was really okay with me being queer. And I came to find out that she wasn't, and I got this poem out of it. So yeah, tell my mother she never had a daughter to begin with. Tell her that her girl child used to look into mirrors and wish she was other. If the devil asked for my soul in exchange for the removal of the question mark that hung over my head, I would have taken his offer, taken the certainty over this minefield of anatomy, and all of the talks of blasphemy, all of the assumptions made about this body without anybody asking me. Tell my mother, God doesn't like ugly. Ask her if he never makes mistakes. How come she wishes me remade? Imagine an image of God that is too cool to be good. Tell her that the binary is overrated. Tell her there must be a verse somewhere in the Bible against rejecting your firstborn. And if she insists on reminding me that God burned an entire city because of what I am, tell her baptizing me so many times only prolonged the inevitable. And that I wish she'd accept me the way that I am, the way that I've accepted that she can't. Tell her I wasn't just a tomboy, that the closets were that closets used to be prayer rooms before people started to hang things in them. Tell her that the dresses she used to put me in used to make me feel like a prisoner, and I didn't like the sound of my voice or my breasts or the entire composition of my body. Tell her I had to learn how to live with this body because my home is a fucked up place, and here we see it sin to be soft or otherworldly. Here, parents keep us small, make us shrink, and we pass the boxes on to our children like relay. Trauma is rinsed, repeated, and then held up for us to carry like trophies. Look at me, all void of prayer and holy. I am not something a parent could be proud of. Tell my mother I was always a little bit out of orbit. Tell her no amount of cut ass would have set me straight. Tell her I'm surprised she didn't see what I was when she was in church morning. Tell her most days I feel like an orphan, like an immigrant roaming foreign land. And I still haven't figured out the customs of my skin. And I still don't have a handle on the language of this body. Tell her I am something out of this world, and it's okay if she thinks of me alien. That she doesn't have to love me if it's hard to. Tell her that in an alternate universe, her love is effortless. In another, she does not wish me dead. Tell her that I cannot be prayed away, that no amount of flags planted or offerings burnt black would make me bring her less shame. Tell her some days it feels like I've lost her in one of the most permanent ways. And I cry the same way I used to when I was a child, imagining a world without her gone. Tell her that she should have held me as tightly as she held her Bibles, reassured me of her love the way she would recite prayers or praise. Tell her I wish she would look at me and not feel regret. Wish sometimes that I had the kind of rage to break everything that she loved that was not me, every altar she bowed to that seemed to feed her hate. Tell my mother I am the gayest thing that she will ever see. Tell her that I love women, and even though this body says differently, I am not one. Tell her that I am an accumulation of amens and omens, and often I wish she didn't care so much about what people thought or how every wrong thing about me makes her look. Tell her I am estranged only because she refuses to accept me for who I am. But I know it's hard, and I wouldn't want to force something on her that doesn't come by nature. Tell her that this body is a museum. Tell her that I am not dead yet. Tell her that I will live by my own terms. That if I am not real, then I must be magic. Tell her that I am magic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danica, for sharing that with us. So many pertinent thematic concerns that are so important, especially for young persons in the queer community. Words that struck me from the very start. Tell my mother she never had a daughter to begin with. And as you continued, you spoke about the mind field of anatomy, which I mean, I think when we consider the psychosocial concerns of our community, we know just how many people express that idea in different ways. And I especially loved how you managed to convey to us how the body adjusts according to the pressures of the world around it. And the points of recognition and beginning of actualization for a queer person when they stop shrinking and start expanding, and the previously restrictive, unyielding world is forced to adjust. Thank you so much. Brilliant work. And as we move on in the program now, Lisa is coming up next. We'll have Danica again in just a little while to share another one of her beautiful poems with us. Coming up now is Lisa Allen Agostini, who is no stranger to platforms such as these. Lisa is my good friend, and so many people in Trinidad and Tobago subscribe not just to her work, but to her as a person because apart from this work that has enriched so much the literature of Trinidad and Tobago, the literature of the Caribbean, the literature of the whole world, I dare say, Lisa is also just an unbelievably honorable, just, fair, good, good. She's so good. So, Lisa, I'm happy to welcome you to this platform this evening, and I look forward to your reading.
As a good Israelite, I would say none is good but God, but thank you so much. um, I was so touched by that poem of Danica because I am spiritual Baptist and I'm seeing the spiritual Baptist imagery all through it, and I'm thinking, oh God, Gil, come by my church. That's all I had to say. And listen, love is love, even with your mother. Bless the Lord. Tonight, I'm reading an excerpt from my most recent novel, The Bread the Devil Need. And the 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 novel is a story about a woman who is in a violent relationship with her partner. And she works in a shop in town. And one day the window dresser comes in, and this is the scene that happens. Jerry was leaning on the gate in front of the store. He bagged a carpentry tools and art supplies in a heap between his foot on the pavement. 2 5-foot sheets of styrofoam was leaned up on the wall next to the gate. "Happy New Year," he sing out when he see me. "I like your hair like that. Fabulous." I had it part on one side so it hung.
Hi, it seems like we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So while we wait for Lisa to come back in, I will now introduce Motilal Guru Singh. Motilal is a friend of mine for a few years now, and let me tell you the story of how we met. We were both at a literary event just like this, and you know how people long ago used to say, "My blood take them." Well, I think both Motilal and I had a mutual experience that day, and ever since then, he has been and continues to be and will continue to be precious to me. I'm always happy to introduce Motilal to my literary friends. I believe the work that he is doing with these short stories is necessary, important work that will survive. And so tonight, I welcome Motilal to read for us now one of his short stories, and he's going to come back in a little later with another one again. Hi, Motilal.
Hi, see me now?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm glad to be here. I will read one of my. Actually, this is the first story that I had published. It was published in the Caribbean Writer. It's called
In the
My
Caribbean,
Cousin.
right?
Yeah, it's from the Virgin Islands, a magazine here. It's
Yes.
called My Cousin Ramsey. Okay, hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I hope everybody else. My cousin Ramsey always seemed to better all the boys our age in whatever we did. Whether it was playing sports, catching birds, fishing, or hunting, he surpassed us all. We all envied him and wished we had his talents. His mother died when he was very young, and his father was always busy tending to his garden and cows. While our mothers paid strict attention to our activities, Ram was free to do as he pleased. When we reluctantly started high school, he was allowed to stay home and do all the fun things we longed to do. He even got a job as a joiner's apprentice and had his own money. He used to buy snacks for us, and like many of the other guys, I had my first taste of beer courtesy Ramsey. Sometimes he would give me money to go to the cinema for the 4:30 show at the Sunbeam Cinema in Pinal, as I was not allowed to attend the 8:30 show as he did. While we did our homework, he was practicing his cricket and football and setting his traps for a gutti and lap. We always turned to Ram Singh for advice about girls and listened to him talk about things we only dreamed of. At 17, when we were preparing for our GCEs, he eloped with a girl at whose home he was building cupboards. We envied him, for he seemed so grown up. He used to say, "All you do in hand stitch, I have my own machine." He and his wife lived with his father in an old house near the forest, where he continued to hunt fish and do woodwork. Ram Singh's wife Ella came from a rich family. She soon began to resent the poverty that Ram Singh had brought her into. At her urgings, he got a job with the county council repairing roads. By the time we finished A levels and started working, Ram Singh was promoted to a tractor driver. He used to joke that he started fixing the road and now he's driving on it. He bought a second-hand Datsun 120Y to go to and from work. He and Ella by now had 2 children. Ram Singh loved his job and his tractor. Whenever he was on vacation, he used to worry about how the substitute driver was treating his tractor, driving it carelessly and not keeping it clean. Ella used to complain that he paid more attention to the tractor than he did to his wife and children. We sometimes met for drinks, and I noticed that Ram Singh, while he drank more than the rest of us, could hold his liquor better. Ram Singh knew the best stories and could tell the best jokes. No line was complete without him. Whenever we had a cookout or a beach line, Ram Singh was always the chief cook and organizer. Although he was the only married man in the gang, he behaved as if he didn't have a care in the world. When we inquired about Ella and the children, he would reply, "She all right? And she getting she money every week?" I soon noticed that Ram Singh was drinking more than usual and was even beginning to sound drunk. Before long, he began to drink with the water carriers and loafers at work. He stayed out late while his wife remained at home to take care of the children. She often complained that Ram Singh did not take her anywhere. Soon, rumors began to circulate that old man Bahal was visiting Ella when Ram Singh was at work. Bahal was the aging Romeo of the village. He was about 70, widowed, fit as a fiddle, and very rich. Whenever someone needed a loan or wanted a bailer if arrested, they went to Bahal. He loved women and would often say that he don't want any hard fowl. He preferred tender chicken. One day, Ram Singh came home and saw his neighbor Bahal and Ella both sitting in the hammock, with Bahal attempting to hug her. Ram Singh was drunk and he beat Ella badly. Ella left Ram Singh and with her 2 children went to stay at her brother's home in Clark Road, not far from our village. She was regularly seen walking her children to the nearby Pinal Presbyterian School, but it was a different Ella. She now wore jeans and makeup, and we could hardly link her to the girl who was living at the edge of the forest. The new, shapely, and sexy Ella provoked impure thoughts in our minds, but we were too afraid to voice them. While Ella appeared to be outwardly improving her image, Ram Singh's was in decline. Ram Singh stopped liming with the regular village boys, instead drinking with the limers and the moppers in Siparia. His clothes were no longer clean and neat, and his car, which was once his pride and joy, sported several dents. One of our friends remarked that it was not the horn, but the echo that was causing Ram Singh to behave this way. As I was Ram Singh's cousin, I was the one who was asked to talk with Ramsey, for we all were concerned with his decline. I had started working as a primary school teacher, and somehow our friends thought that qualified me as a counselor. I was hesitant to approach Ella to find out how she felt about reconciliation. She was happy to see me and confided that she loved Ramsing and was not seeing anyone else, and that the whole matter with Bahal had been a mistake. She told me that she wanted to return home as she was not comfortable living at her brother's. But Ramsing would have none of it. I spoke to him about forgiveness and asked that he consider the children, but he was not moved. When I said in jest that, "Uncommon boy, what could wash could use back?" he wittily replied, "What's spoiled in the morning can't be good in the evening." Ramsing had lost neither his sense of humor nor his wit. I continued to act as a go-between for both of them, but to little avail. Then I stopped seeing them for about 6 months. One Sunday evening, I saw Ramsing's car in front of my gate. The car looked good, as if recently painted. Ramsing himself was clean-shaven and wore a well-pressed shirt with what looked like new pants. There was a passenger in the front seat. I invited Ramsing in. He came in with his wife Ella. He couldn't stay long, as he was taking Ella to see the new Ralph Maraj play at the Naparima Bowl. With a sheepish grin, he told me that they were back together. He had joined Alcoholics Anonymous and had stopped drinking. He had started to build a house in Latsus Road, away from the forest. "Boy," he said, "thing going good. You know how nice it is to get hot roti in the morning?" Ramsing was back to his old self once more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Motilal. We're coming back to you, so don't leave us. One thing I love about Motilal's stories, he paints such vivid characters of Trinidad of yesteryear. Motilal has two collections of short stories, Kal Kahanis and Chatak Kahanis. So please, once we are done with this program, I ask you to check those out. As you can see from the presentation we all just witnessed, he has a great care for language and carefully integrates within his work Guardian Creole with so much integrity that I think forever and always Motilal will be considered one of the treasures of literature of Trinidad and Tobago. Now we're going to move on. I should say we're moving back a little bit because Lisa is now here with us again. So she's going to complete the presentation she began previously. Here we are, Lisa.
Hi, sorry about that.
That's
Thanks for your
okay.
patience. I'll just go back into the reading. Jerry was leaning on the gate in front of the store. He bagged carpentry tools and art supplies in a heap between his foot on the pavement. 2 5-foot sheets of styrofoam was leaned up on the wall next to the gate. "Happy New Year," he sang out when he see me. "I like your hair like that. Fabulous." I had it part on one side so it hung over half my face. You could guess which half I was covering up. The sun was just coming up. I couldn't deal with the crowd this early morning, so I make sure and leave home before the rush. I didn't expect to see Jerry so early, and I tell him so while I was opening up the shop. "You know me," he say with an evil little grin. "I accustomed coming quick." Jerry thin like a rail, about as fat as the width of the styrofoam boards he was working with that day. He heavy bag on his shoulder and take the boards in his hand, going straight to the window to start to work. As I tidying up the store, putting back clothes on rack, folding up jeans and whatnot, and preparing to start the day, he done measuring and cutting and painting, making small talk in a high-pitched sing-song voice. Tamika hustling 7:45. Sorry. She was breathless. "Girl, I wake up so late. Curtis had was to drop me to work. I couldn't get no transport on the main road." She dropped her voice and pointed to Jerry with her chin. "What you need me to do?" "Jerry," I call out to him. You ready for the clothes yet? He was working in the window with a knife and a sheet of sandpaper, transforming the styrofoam into a fire hose and fire engine. Naked mannequins, even paler than me, was posed up in a gaggle inside the store, just behind the window. Not yet, in about half an hour. He sat down the edge of a curling shape. And when it's 8 o'clock, tell me, I have to go by Samaru's for the hats and some glitter. I turned back to Tamika. Tidy the changing rooms by the time now. You want a cup of tea first? Tamika doled out the biscuit again. Curtis tell me we was going for ice cream last night, she say. How was the ice cream? A blow on the tea. It was so hot, steam was coming up from it. I take a quick sip. Tamika grinned. It wasn't no ice cream. He carried me to see a house. A house? He say he paid the down payment already. If you see it, girl, it nice. Which part it is? Tamika stick out her tongue. Chaguanas. Ain't you run to Carnage to get away from Chaguanas? He say he can't get nothing for that price in the West. It's either East, like Wallafield or Brazil Village, or Central. Imagine me taking taxi from Chaguanas to come in town again. Pressure. I take a next sip of tea and eat some cricks. How far it is from your mother's house? If you see how Tamika's face turn sour. Not far enough, that damn woman. What happened? She vexed her by Curtis now. She said if he get any milk for free, he wouldn't bother to buy the cow. Plus two, she never liked Curtis. The big clock on the wall say 8 o'clock. Jerry sticky head inside the doorway. You want to look at this? He taking the seat in the kitchen. You have any coffee? He settled in a chair as Tamika make a cup of instant coffee for him. Before she could ask, he chirped, no milk, honey. I like it strong, black, and bitter. He winky eye at me. You know just what I mean, Miss Madam. Tamika turned she back, skin up she face for me to see, and turned again to hand him the coffee. She didn't go back in she seat. Ali, here now. Give me the list and let me go and get the things by Samaru's. I'll do the dressing room when I come back. I watched Tamika vex face and tell myself that 15 minutes away from Jerry would suit she just fine. I waved my hand at she. Jerry, get you the listener. How much money you think? Jerry didn't mince words after Tamika gone. She's so stiff. Like she still had that boyfriend thing up she bottom or what? I nearly snorted the hot tea up through my nose. Jerry! It's true, he say. She just gets on like if I have germs and she will catch something if she stand up too close to me. I shake my shoulders. You know, it's so some people stop. You can't change their mind. My mother was just so. She did hate Bullerman. Who you calling Bullerman? But he was grinning. I am an upstanding member of society, child. Bullerman is them fellas you just see on the corner looking for fares. I roll my eyes. Well, look thing. We laugh together, but the laughter get cut short. Why you let that man hit you in your face, darling? Jerry asked the question light, as if he asking where I buy my shoes. He reached for a biscuit. I feel my face turning red. Who say anybody hit me? Look, Jerry, stop talking shit now. He take a sip of coffee, looking at me over the rim of the cup. You feel I never get a cut ass? You're holding your belly like it hurts, and I never see it in so much a base. That color a little dark for you, by the way. I must take you shopping to get a nice foundation. I didn't say nothing, but I couldn't watch you in the face neither. You could tell me mind my business, but don't lie and say he didn't beat you. You could lie to the world, but don't lie to yourself. He stopped, watching my hand, turning my teacup around and around on the same spot. Let me tell you, Ali, he's not going to stop. You're going to get licks until you're dead if you don't leave that man. I finished my tea and washed me and Tamika cup in the sink. Why you not like every other person in this country? They could see me with 2 black eye and a break hand and they ain't go say boo. Honey, if you want me to do that, I could do that. But you with this man for 5 years and he beating you so? How he go beat you when it's 10? He go kill you? I didn't know it had a schedule for licks. Hon, trust me. Look at this. He lifted up his pastel blue linen shirt. It had a small scar, like a shiny little dot, 2 inches from his navel. It don't look like nothing, but that was the tip of the ice pick the fucker tried to push in my guts. He lifted up the shirt higher. The next scar was longer, about 1 inch. That was when he slashed me with the kitchen knife. Dropping the shirt, hear me pull up his short sleeve. By his shoulder had a mark, wide like a schoolgirl ribbon, crisscrossed with stitches. He chopped me with a cutlass. He nearly cut off my hand. Rearranging his shirt, Jerry say, that was when the relationship ended. He get 3 months for wounding with intent, and even then, he say, chuckling but in a tone bitter like stout. It's not that I done with it, you know. It's because he pick up somehow in jail and he break up with me. You understand? You believe? Leo not going and chop me. He laugh. That is what you think. He watch me, sipping me coffee with a serious face. Ali, Gil, I'm not judging you. You know why you were the man. But study this. If he love you, why he must beat you? It's not like you're some 2 and 6 baby. Who gave you the right? Who gave he the right to beat you? And I bet he does blame you for it too. If I was red before, by then I was purple. Aubergine. You see? All them man is the same thing. We girls have to stick together, lady. The joke break the tension and I change the subject. Forget Anna, Jerry. Right now, I want to make sure you will finish with the window by lunchtime.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Oh, I was just in a trance almost just listening to you read. For a moment, I was reminded of a bunch of videos I have stored on my YouTube of different writers whom I admire, and I just thought, gosh, you know how many young people witnessing Lisa Reed may in times refer to her as one of their literary influences. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I always appreciate in your work the focus on the lived experience of an urban Caribbean demographic set in present time. And I think it was V.S. Naipaul who said that one of the best things a writer can have is a subject for which there has been insufficient exploration. And I think the focus of your work is a subject for which there has been insufficient exploration. And I'm thanking you so much for doing this service, not just to the queer community in Trinidad and Tobago, but to literature in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean region. And I know it's a conversation between what you presented and what Mutla presented previously in terms of the theme of gender-based violence and how this issue is dealt with within communities. Thank you so much, Lisa. And at this
My
time,
pleasure. Thank you so much.
at this time, we're going to call on Malik, my new friend Malik, who spoke to me earlier today saying that they are presenting an experimental poem. So, Malik, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Before I go on, I'd like to say this is a very short poem that I made. I'm also very new to making the poem scene and stuff. Like I tried writing poems before, but I've never did it was ever satisfied with how it went. So this is my poem, and I've decided to name it Clockwork. 1, 2, step in my shoe. 3, 4, I'm out the door. 5, 6, public hate. Going down street has never been easy. Fast cars, beaming lights, braking traffic. Eyes darted right from left, and here came the dread. Trembling always after, she never missed a beat. Wringing my hands to the same weary feet. There's a pattern to be observed here. Expression always critiqued. I just want to live my life without being beaten with a rhythm by folks who made the decision to be, how can I put it in a way for you to understand? Hateful. And that's my very short poem that I wrote.
Malik, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you did this specifically for this platform. The rhythm is really beautiful. Malik, I'm happy to say at this time that at the end of this month, we are presently, She Write Collective is presently trying, along with some of the writers present here tonight, to curate workshops. And I hope to see you there because I think you really do have talent. And I love just how much joy that you put into this work. And I love the integrity of the work. So thank you so much.
You're
Malika,
welcome.
you also have a publication that you've been working on. Are you still going through with this project? Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, I'm still going through with it, although it took a pause because of schoolwork and stuff. So
Yes.
it's still being continued.
Is it a collection of short stories or is it poetry?
Oh, it's more like a novel that I'm working on, but I'm also interested in making just a collection of short stories, as well as even just making poems. Like all of these things are very interesting to me that I would love to just get into.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. We look forward to seeing your publications, reading your work, and to receiving you again on our
Oh,
platforms.
thank you.
You're welcome. So at this time, we are bringing back Danica Thomas to share again with us from her writing portfolio. Where's Danica?
Hi.
Here they are. Hi.
All right. So next poem. Yeah. So this poem is a continuation of that same storyline of channeling and working through all of these confusions into poetry. The name of this one is called Learning How to Love Myself. In many ways, I'm still learning how to love myself, how to see myself as more than sinner whose soul is too singed to be saved, still learning that this body is a blossom and not a blasphemy. So last year, my fiance gave me a ring, asked me to marry her. And I said yes while we danced the night away, drenched in the downpour of our years of joy. Marriage was never something I imagined for someone like me. Seemed too foreign, always seemed too foreign, too Hollywood, too happily ever after. When I told my mother, I saw her happy receded to the back of her throat, as if she was trying to swallow the tidal wave of bile back to banish the thought that her firstborn had surely secured a spot in hell. I used to think she was always so okay with me being gay. And I don't know if some part of her hopes that I would eventually phase out of the pits of Sodom and find my way into the saving grace of the arms of a man that, even though I brought women home and introduced them to her as partners, that the confirmation that she had a daughter who would marry someone else's daughter was too heavy a weight for her to carry, that the ring was the straw that broke the camel's back. I often wonder if because we were two of the same things trying to love each other in a world where people believe opposites must always attract, the hope was that we would cancel each other out. Her rejection caused me to keep my greatest happiness a secret, and instead of celebrating and rejoicing in the name of all this magic, I cowered in silence, as if the ground beneath my feet would crumble if my love was anything but quiet or secret that could only be safe indoors, that has to negotiate whether or not it should be seen in public. Self-acceptance is a practice. And every day I post her, I am stronger. And every day I am not afraid to love her openly. We defeat a great evil. Because every day we stand next to each other in public, we are at risk. And when we hold hands in the streets, someone who does not understand will look at us as if we're just two dirty homosexuals frolicking in the open, too freely for their comfort, too close to their children. But today, I care less. And tomorrow, I will care less more. My love deserves to be loud and free, and so it will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danica. Danica, can you tell us a bit about your process, please? I feel like a lot of people would be happy to know how you enter a poem, how you flex with it so that it becomes what we have just heard from you.
My process has changed a lot over the years, and it continues to change. And honestly, I did a workshop on this recently, so it's not like it's difficult to explain it. But often a lot of thought. I spend more time thinking about the poem than actually writing the poem, believe it or not. And I think through the ideas. I think through how exactly I want to say what I want to say. And I'm specifically interested in finding a way to just say the thing in a way that I haven't heard it said before. And yeah, I have a format. I have an actual technical format as well that helps me. That I kind of discovered now that is actually helping me to churn out poems a lot faster. But yeah, I mostly just think through the poems, and I try to empty them onto the page. And most of the times, a lot of the things that I want to include in the poem is added like after I vomited onto the page, like all of the things that I've been thinking about. But recently, like I said, I've had this process where I actually have like a format. Fun fact, I recently was diagnosed with ADHD, and I realized that my brain hates like formats. It hates schedules. It hates structure. But somehow, with the structure that I created, some of my best work, I feel like, is coming out of it, is being churned out of it. So yeah.
Yes. Pleased to say that Danica will be joining Shira Collective at the end of this month for a workshop. So Shira will be collaborating with Bacano Leaf, Danica's literary platform. So follow Shira Collective on Facebook for more information. Danica, do you have any publications? How can our viewers find your work? Tell us about that.
I have a few poems published in a few places that I can't recall right now because it was a while ago. But I have some poems on YouTube, Danica Thomas, and that's really the only place I think you could find random spoken word poems. The two poems that I performed tonight are on my YouTube channel, and hopefully maybe within the next 2 years, 3 years, an anthology would find its way out of me.
Yeah. Now, Danica, before we go on, I have to touch on this. You are not just a spoken word poet, you're a spoken word champion. Can you tell us about the experience of being so well received as a poet who mixes poetry as literature with poetry as performance art?
Um, Honestly, I think it wasn't as easy now, which is, you know, is easy now to do it. I'm at a place where I'm comfortable with it, but I wasn't always comfortable with it. And I relied heavily on the knowledge and the experience and the wisdom of the people who were doing it longer than I was. So Ariel John, and going into spaces and hearing you speak. What's this other lady's name? Just listening to the greats and I steal a lot. And what I mean by stealing is I like a sponge, right? I'm always thinking about how can I improve myself? How can I be more effective?
You're a good student.
Yeah, well, you know. So I'm always sitting in spaces and taking things out of what I'm learning in this space and what I'm ingesting into this space and making note of them for the improvement of my craft. And my passion has always been using spoken word poetry as a tool for activism and for just speaking about things that are important. And just understanding that I always wanted to just be beyond just Trinidad and Tobago. Like I wanted to be just to be able to be translated anyway, you know. And so there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that it doesn't take away from the essence and the culture and everything that is native to home and to me and to here, but that it could also exist in other places, you know. And so it's something that I'm very conscious about and I'm always thinking about, and I always just try to make conscious decisions to do that.
Danica, I am so happy to be sharing temporary space with you, and I look forward to your rise in literary circuits. And we also look forward to another reading from you later on in the program. But right now, we're going to welcome Motilal back with his stories of yesteryear. Hi, Motilal.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
this one is known as the Mehfil Dance Company. Now, long ago, the dance troops in the East Indian villages consisted of only males. Girls were not allowed to dance in public. Men used to dress up as female and perform as female characters as they presented their plays at weddings and other social events. So here goes with this story, this extract. Mehfil Dance Company. Everyone came out to look when Marajin, with glowing chaila in hand, shouted what she would do with Bitawa ass and headed towards the Mehfil Dance Company headquarters. The Mehfil Dance Company was rehearsing for a presentation to mark the celebration of our independence on August 31st, 1962, which was in 2 weeks' time. Marajin was a widow. Her husband, Pandit Maharaj, having died many years ago, leaving her to bring up Bitawa, Chandra, and Bredo when she was in her late 30s. Pandit Maharaj did not leave much. A small wooden house with a downstairs karat covered kitchen on rented land and very little money. She never remarried, but set about raising her children as best as she could. She started making pulori, anchar, and bara, which she sold at the nearby primary school. On Saturdays, she would make her way to the Pinal market, where she sold a variety of Indian delicacies, including doubles, kachoris, sahina, jalebis, and anchar. Although she did not earn much, she was able to take care of herself and her children comfortably. The years went by. Her eldest son, Bitawa, became apprenticed to the village tailor, while Chandra was learning to sew with the village seamstress, Raju. Her youngest son, Bredo, was attending Victoria College. He was the first in the family to go to high school, and she had great plans for him. While she was very protective of her children, she believed in physical discipline and would beat him whenever, with whatever she had at hand if they ran afoul of her rules. Even Betawa, who was now nearing 16, would feel her wrath from time to time. Every evening, she would make the anchar for sale the following day, while she prepared the seasoning for the bara and pulori. She would fry these the next morning, started at 4 a.m. Bredo and Chandra helping. These days, Betawa did not help, as he sometimes worked late. She thought, he feels a big man because he gain a shilling by the tailor, but he not too big to feel me hand. She had two huge chulhas on which she cooked. These firesides were made from mud and gobar with a bit of cement added to make them sturdy. Provided Providing the fire would be pieces of wood inside the chulha, pieces of wood inside the chulha under the pot. We all cook with firewood these days, buying from the firewood truck, which came on a Saturday as the loader shouted, "Firewood, firewood, Purple Heart, 10 small logs for $1." We chop these into smaller pieces for everyday use. Sometimes we would buy a load of slab, discarded pieces of lumber from the village sawmill at $3 a load with Gargat's mule cart. Some of the women even ventured in the nearby cocoa and coffee field to pick up fallen dried pieces of wood. It was on one such evening, as Marachin was preparing her anchar, that Polly, the neighbor's daughter, told her, "Mausi, bitawa have on a dress and dancing with them fellas out the road." She took up a piece of wood that was still alight and yelling, rushed towards the Mehfil venue. Next, we would see Betawa running to his home, his long dress swirling with emotion, Kungrus on his feet shining rhythmically, and Marajin, Chaila in hand, the end getting redder as it was stroked by the breeze, closing in on him. Thank you, I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Motila. Listen, so many things to learn all the time. When I heard the word chula, I felt as though all the light bulbs in me just went on. Always with you, as I said before, it's like a dictionary of Trinidad Creole. And not just that you use the word, but you go on to explain exactly what it is. You know, a fireside made out of mud, bars, cement, then going into the firewood. I mean, always such a rich selection of imagery and things that we're not necessarily seeing on a day-to-day basis, and certainly not always seeing in literature coming out of Trinidad and Tobago. So very much like what I said to Lisa previously, I think in your work there is a subject for which there has not been sufficient exploration, and I think one of the gems of your work is that. But Motila, as I mentioned earlier, you have two publications, Count Kahanis and Chatak Kahanis, and I know that these stories are within those collections. Can you tell us some more about where we can find your work?
Well, the first book I just had 200 copies and that sold out. My second book, because of COVID, didn't go out to market it as such, but I have it there. And one of these days, what I'm doing, I'm hoping to put them into ebooks and put them on Amazon.
Wonderful. So I will keep in touch with you, and as soon as you organize everything, we'll make sure that people who are interested can get information so that you can support Motilal's writing career. So we are moving on now. We're going back to Lisa Allen Agostini. Hi, Lisa. Lisa here. Oh, so let's go on to Zeneca then while we wait on Lisa. Zeneca back? Hello.
Hi. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. So I'm looking for the poem that I have. All right. Cool. So this is a weird poem, honestly. And I just need to explain it a bit. I hate explaining poems, but these poems are special poems. These are not the everyday poems. I'm not gonna ever really go on a stage. I don't know. I don't think I'll just go on a stage and perform these poems like just so in any kind of space, but you're all getting them, right? So the name of this is Maybe This Too Can Pass for Prayer. And I'm sure you all have noticed the theme of these poems, but it is what it is. And this poem is actually just meant to be performed, right? It is a more kind of theatrical piece that I performed in 2018, 2019 with Ariel John and Brandon O'Brien as a group piece. But I will perform it for y'all, right? It is perceived that queer folks automatically hate Jesus. That once we taste the rainbow, uttering the name of God from the same mouth makes us burn in daylight. That the sound or sight of heaven stings. That we live in fear of divine things, us, me, monstrous and tainted, fleeing that which is sacred. I've been all kinds of holy before. All kinds of beat scripture just to know them by heart, all kinds of jog around the savannah with rosary wrapped around my hands, all kind of choke on blood and body. Watch Eucharist turn eulogy on my tongue, all kinds of turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek. That did not make me feel any closer to God. I did not find any comfort in religion, but I do believe that there is a higher power. My guardian angel does not wear white. She wore neon pink and see it from a mile away green, used to strut across my shoulder like it was a catwalk, referred to me as they and made me feel plural, walked with her hands on her hip, a rude gal dip, stood her ground even when I fell to the ground. I've been all kinds of holy before, all kinds of tender. Before I knew who I was, before divine and devotional, before I started to feel like a Holocaust wrapped in prayer tactic, before I started praying myself away, before wanting to annul all of the atrocities by becoming a nun, back when everything was innocent and I didn't turn to God for the days that I felt like Godzilla, before the boyfriends I kept just so I could feel normal, I discovered myself in the girl that used to come over for playdates. In the harmful reenactments, in the kinds of things we like to see little girls doing, like learning the ways to be woman by playing house. And the whole time I struggled to learn the rules because so many of the things did not feel like they applied to me. But what was I to do with this feeling? I discovered myself in the performance, in the dinner we cooked but did not eat, in the beds we made even though no one slept, in the dirt we swept, pretend to clean for real, pretend how girls learn to play a part when we played house. And it's time to simulate night, and we close the door to our make-believe bedroom, and this girl, who is supposed to be my husband, lays me down beside her in this sacrament, whispers, "Be not afraid," and her fingers find my garden, and my guardian angel stays silent. And for the briefest of moments, bodies silently craft a speaking in tongues. What was I to do with this feeling? Between two girls who were supposed to be pretend parents, between two senses of womanhood, between the guilt that comes because I was taught that and acts like that is profane, and the sense of the glory of sharing the parts of you that is sacred, and the kind of hummingbird scattered wild in my stomach that I never felt for no boy, warm within me like a Pentecost, lifting me up like a rapture. All of the words that come to me later are holy. I've been all kinds of holy before I even started writing this prayer, which started writing itself in my childhood, that is always being edited, that has been and keeps presenting itself naked. My guardian angel is an ever-changing form. I am an ever-changing form. How can you not be whole? How can you be holy and not believe in the rainbow? I've been baptized 3 times. It is perceived that queer folks automatically hate everything holy, but I don't. Thank you.
You're welcome. That absolutely beautiful. I love the image of the guardian angel in this poem, Danica, because I mean, who is supposed to know you if not your guardian angel? Who is supposed to know your true name, your true pronouns, and will never find your fluidity and inconvenience because it is an aspect of their design. Thank you so much for this brilliant work. Danica, apart from your work in literature, I know you also have a thriving career in advocacy and activism as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that aspect of your life?
Yeah, for sure. I have for a very long time before I started um, working with organizations and before I established myself, I was searching for a way to say things that I saw and felt but didn't have the language for, and represent things and speak out against things that um, just it just didn't have conversations about them around me. So from a very, very young age, I saw like stuff like just domestic violence and, seeing my aunts, like generations of people in my family go through, women in my family go through all these different forms of abuse. And um, then, of course, with my own identity popping up at a certain point in my life, I think secondary school, where I was just like, feeling things and not having words for these things, not having terms for these things, the vocabulary to make sense of these things. And yeah, I just decided that I want to help create and contribute to this space that continues to language these experiences, for lack of a better term, like make sense of them. And well, obviously, poetry, that is a big part of my activism, because a lot of my work is extremely thematic and it is purposely so. You know, I don't, I'm not like a comedic poet or, um, I don't know. I often don't fit the bill. I actually cannot go in certain spaces and perform because, yeah, it's just like this boy down in my mood, brother, you know. But I really just keep trying to connect. I think my big thing is I like to talk and I like to smalls as well. And so I'm always looking for an opportunity to smalls the advocacy into spaces.
When you say smalls the advocacy into spaces, what do you mean?
I don't know, my brain works in a very weird way. And I feel like it's I'm always analyzing everything, every conversation, every person that I meet. I'm thinking, hey, I wonder how we can make like a connection with this. Like, how can we turn this into something that is just extremely useful for the space? Like, how can we do that? And so yeah, my smalls is usually be very targeted, even when it doesn't seem that way, even when it doesn't seem that way, is always me gathering information so that I could use it at a later date. And yeah, I just continued to make connections. In 2017, I had not 2017, in 2015, I had gotten connected with the Two Cents movement. And of course, that changed the game for me because I had never worked with an organization who was able to put so many things in just perspective. And then I later got connected with Girl Be Heard, and I was like, this is this is something I could roll with. Like, international organizations know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and I like what they're doing. So I started to look for more opportunities, apply for more opportunities to connect with more people who are like-minded, passion-minded, and yeah, just we here, we here.
And tell us a little bit about Bacano Leaf,
Um,
this poetry hub that you created and that you continue to curate.
yes, I have been conceptualizing Bacano Leaf for the last 2-3 years. The very first time I went to the US to perform, fun story. I hope my aunt not on this live, but you know, they gave people things, so she probably wouldn't be here. The very first time I traveled to the States for poetry, after being told you will never amount to nothing with poetry, like poetry don't make sense, was very eye-opening to me. And I had connected to an organization called Youth Speaks at first, and it was a program. The name of the program is called Ride to the City. And my brain was just on overdrive, like, whoa, this how they're doing it here? Notes, sit down in workshop. Oh, I like the activity, notes. And I made a set of notes, and then I came back home fueled with all this creative energy. And I was like, okay, I want to create something. And then I was just like, oh gosh, but things already created here. I'm already involved with things that already exist. There isn't a space for me to change these things too much yet, but I will stick around and see if I could have some form of influence. And then the pandemic happened, you know, and I continue trying to tell myself, Danica, you should start this thing. There is a space for this thing. You need to do this thing. And eventually March this year, I started it. What Bacano Leaf is meant to be is a international and regional hub for spoken word poetry. I have had the opportunity to connect with, to just be blessed for lack of a better term, to be able to be in a space where I could grab at certain opportunities and connect with people outside of home. And what I want to do for others who may not be in that position to connect in that way, to bring it to them through Bacano Leaf, through our virtual open mic, which we were having every month. Through the workshops, the virtual open mic has reached Hawaii, the US, Jamaica, throughout throughout different states in the US, throughout the Caribbean, all workshops. The last workshop had folks from Guyana who afterwards were telling me, we do not have this here, and we're so grateful that you're creating this space where we could connect not only with other Caribbean people, but we could learn the way to do things. We could learn from you, from other people in this space, and because we're not getting that home, So the idea is just to connect poets to other poets, to create a space, a very unfiltered space where people could create work and share work, where we could learn, where we could grow, where we could workshop ideas, where we could just evolve as creative beings. I'm the only person who's running Bacano Leaf thus far, but hopefully as it continues to develop and evolve, we bring people on the team. We create it. I don't have a team. It's a one person thing. But hopefully there is a team in the future. Hopefully there's funding in the future. And I have a lot of plans for the platform, but so far it's being well received. And yeah, that's the vibes.
I completely understand what you mean. Some people don't need a large organizational structure because they themselves are a large organizational structure.
Yes.
I speak it from experience as well. That's phenomenal, Danica. Tell us, before we move to the next person, tell viewers how they can access Bacano Leaf if they want to be a part of what you're doing.
Okay. Easy. Instagram, Bacano Leaf, Bacano. Now I've gotten messages about why I didn't spell the name Bacano the way it's supposed to be spelled in Creole, in Patois. But I kind of chose to go the route of Trinidadians, and the fact that a lot of the people that I want to reach are probably going to pronounce the word the way it is seen. And I want you to say Bacano, and we could learn about everything about Bacano leaves and the trees afterwards. But it is a way to create a conversation, and everybody know Bacano Leaf is all about healing. So Instagram at Bacano Leaf, Bacano Leaf. The only two things we have active right now is the open mic. which usually happens at the end of every month. The flyers should be posted like this week. It is free. All you have to do is click the link in the bio to register once the flyer is released to perform. And once you want to participate, you come on the live and you vibes with us. And the workshop, same thing. Once I drop the flyer, go to our bio, register. The workshops are free, absolutely free, quality content, trust. But you do have an option to contribute if your pockets allow, if your hearts move, if the spirit move, So yeah, hopefully we get. Well, I'm working on the website, so it will come soon. But that is the platform we are on. We are on Facebook as well, but Instagram is the main place.
Thank you so much. So at this time, we're going to bring Motilal back in, and we're going to have Danica just at the end again as we give our closing remarks. So here joining us with another one of his short stories, Motilal Hussain.
Thank you, thank you. This is an extract from a story called The Wedding. We would sometimes see Radhika on the veranda of the big house that had the bar on the ground floor. But no one had ever spoken to her, as she never came downstairs. We knew she was challenged, unlike her sister Doi, who helped in the bar while waiting for an appointment as a teacher, having passed her GCE. Both were extremely pretty and resembled each other very much. Their father, Jags, was the richest man in the village and very influential. Kishore was the manager at the Bata shoe store in Pinal. Like many of the young men in the village, he would visit the bar on evenings, hoping to chat up Doi. He was not much of a drinker, a beer or two per week perhaps, but could be seen nearly every day on a bar stool, his head cradled in his hands, elbows on the counter, leaning forward. He would sweet talk Doi, who held a similar position on the other side of the counter while she was not serving other customers. They might have kissed, but for the BRC burglar proofing that separated them. Jag saw Kishore's interest in his daughter, but felt Doi was destined for greater things, maybe even university. However, he did not discourage their friendship. One day, he spoke to Kishore and asked if he wanted to marry Doi, to which Kishore wholeheartedly accepted. In those days in the Indian community, dating was uncommon, and the only place that Doi and Kishore were allowed to be together was at the Sunday evening Indian matinee at the Sunbeam Cinema in Pinal Junction. Her father dropped them off and picked them up when the show was over. Here, in the darkness of the theater, Kishore would steal a kiss, cup her feel, and sometimes try to caress her legs, and she would gently but firmly push his hand away. He could feel himself becoming aroused and was unable to follow the storyline of the movie, but there was no chance of him getting any further. These Sunday evenings only served to increase his frustration. He went to Doi's father and asked that the wedding date be brought forward. Jabs agreed, but told Kishore that he wanted to marry his daughter in traditional night wedding, as was the Hindu custom of an earlier time. The wedding could be held in 2 weeks' time, but as was customary, Doi and Kishore must not see each other until the wedding ceremony was completed. By this time, Kishore, filled with passionate yearning, would agree to anything. The date was set. The wedding night came. Kishore only glimpsed his bride when he was asked to apply the sindoor. As he signed the marriage certificate, all he could think of was consummation, as the pressure in his loins became torment. He could not wait to take his bride home. Passionate lovemaking did not leave any time for conversation that night. Again and again they went at it until they both fell asleep. It was only the next morning that Kishore realized he had married Radhika. A visit to Jags was ill-fated. He insisted that Kishore had legally wed Radhika in front of hundreds of witnesses, and any ill treatment of Radhika would be met with serious repercussions. Kishore, sensing that it was perilous to oppose this powerful man, acceded. He returned home and for the next 2 nights had vigorous intercourse with Radhika, who seemed to have an unbridled appetite for sex. Wednesday came, and as is traditional, the bride returned to her parents' home until the following Sunday. Kishore pretended to accept the situation and managed a smile as Jags offered him a lot of land. By Thursday, Kishore was on a Pan Am flight to New York, never to be heard of again. 9 months later, Radhika gave birth to a baby girl. Joy started teaching at the Pinarok Hindu School and is said to have broken many hearts. Thank you. I stop here.
Thanks, Motilal. You know, something that just occurred to me. Whenever you are reading, I always get the feeling like I'm standing by my fence or leaning over the wall, getting a hot story from neighbor about something that happened. Neighbor's like, and you wouldn't believe. But apart from that, what I think is really critical in your work is the compassion, the level of compassion with which you treat your characters. Motilal, we're rounding up for the evening. Tell us a bit about your literary process. How did these stories come to be what they are?
Well, growing up in my village, I used to say, there used to be a book called Peyton Place. A Peyton Place.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Okay, well, Peyton Place used to be one of these original books of the 50s and all that, where it used to be about bacchanal in the village and the people. So I used to always say that it seems as if my village is a Peyton Place. The amount of different things used to happen. And most of my stories are rooted in true events. Most of my stories are rooted in true events. Maybe a little embellishment here and there. But this is something that actually happened. That you're going to get married, you have a little process, you go and see the girl, and then afterwards the wedding arranged and all that. So sometimes when you go to see the girl, they show you the wrong girl, they show you the pretty sister. And when time comes, with all the veil and everything before you know it, you're married, not the person that you intended to. Actually, there's something that actually happened in our village in the 50s.
Wow, the definition of commerce, the definition of bacchanal. Thank you so much, Motilal. At this time, let's welcome Danica so that we can all share last words before we close off for tonight. So let's bring them back. Yes, Danica. Hello. So, guys, any closing words? Anything you have that you would like to say to viewers? Any instructions you want to give concerning your work, concerning platforms, concerning upcoming events that you may have? Time.
I guess I could go first. Now I just hope everyone enjoyed all of the offerings um, that was released into this space tonight, and yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for creating this space, Amanda, Pride TT, She Writes Collective. I hope I got that correctly. Got that right?
Yes.
And yeah, go follow the YouTubes. Go follow Bacano Leaf. You can find me on Instagram too. Devika Thomas, very, very easy to find. And yeah, I reach out if you need help writing, help connecting, finding things. I'm very resourceful. So that's basically it.
Thank you. Motilal,
So, it's way past my bedtime. But
same.
it's only you, Amanda, could get me to remain so late. So I want to say thanks for the opportunity, and I enjoyed this evening. And I would like to invite the community that I write for a magazine called My Trinidad. It's a monthly online publication. It was founded by a fellow called Tony Dial, and we have a lot of West Indian writers in there, and we have people from Canada and England and all that who also contribute. That is an online magazine, so if you go and click on My Trinidad, you would see I try to have a new story in every month, and I've been writing regularly. This pandemic have me inside, so I've been writing, and right now I'm in my third book. Thanks for the opportunity, and Amanda, you can call me anytime.
I will. And so too, Motilal, Danica, and Lisa, who had to leave us, I want to offer, on behalf of She Write Collective and Pride TT, heartfelt thanks to you, our writers, for sharing with us this evening. We were indeed honored to host you on the Outspoken platform, and we look forward to having you again. As I said before, She Write Collective will be hosting workshops at the end of this month with some of the writers whom we saw tonight. And you can also check the Pride TT platform as soon as this is done for the recording of tonight's event. And that brings us to the close, my lovely siblings. Thank you. I'm glad to have been here with you this evening. I'm hoping to see you more as we continue our Pride commemorations. Happy Pride.
Awesome, Amanda. That was awesome. That was amazing. Thank you so much for such a great event. And a virtual round of applause to all of the artists on the panel: Danica, Mutilal, Lisa, Alan Agostini. We appreciate you. So just a couple community announcements to close out the night. We are running this show all month, so there's something all month. We will have the Trinidad and Tobago Trans Coalition is hosting a chat room on HIV awareness and education Monday to Friday from 5 p.m. All information is available on their social media, so check them out. They're on Instagram, Facebook, And Pride TT has actually collaborated with Scotiabank on a really great, exciting project that's coming up. It's a youth development project, kind of going forward from what was our Generation Gap program, which is still happening. So it's Generation Gap with a lengthened period of time, focusing solely on youth development, mental health, self-help and awareness, confidence building, and also career development. So check out our website, pridect.com, for the launch of that program. It will be in the Generation Gap program this year. So thank you again for joining us this evening. Thank you, Amanda, She Write Collective. Thank you, all of our guests. Tomorrow we have Todd with Moonlight Yoga, so check that out. We'll be live as usual on all our platforms. Please follow us, share us, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, pridect.com. And we look forward to having you again. You know, we're always here for our community, and we can't wait for the next time we are with you. And hopefully, as usual, it will be a great time. So to close us out, DJ, run the track again.